I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 20th, 2020 Graham Planning Board meeting. For this meeting, the City of Graham is convening by Zoom video phone conference as posted on the City of Graham's website, identifying how the public may join. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting is being held by a Zoom platform. This meeting is being recorded for the purposes of taking minutes. If anyone is having technical connection difficulties, please contact Preston Jenkins at 336-347-8674 for support. For items not on tonight's agenda, public comments to address the board at this meeting, please indicate that you wish to do so by raising your hand feature in the Zoom, or if by phone, press *9 and our meeting host will notify me that you wish to speak. As a preliminary matter, I am Chair Dean Ward. I would like to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on agenda are present and can hear me, which we've already done from the board members. So I won't go through each one of you individually. Staff participants tonight will be Nathan Page, and I haven't met Laura. Hey, Laura.
Good evening. How are you?
Great.
Good.
All right. First order of business tonight, I would like to approve last month's minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chrisman. We have a motion and a second. Who was the second? Okay.
I'll second it.
Nate, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Great. Okay, Nathan, we'll go to new business.
The first item for new business is a subdivision. Let me put it up on the screen for us. This is a request to subdivide. This is S2005 Council Creek, and the application is by Chuck Truby of CPT Engineering for subdivision of 92 lots on 34 acres off of Council Drive. Scott Wallace is the developer. Chuck G is his engineer, and I believe that Scott is here to speak if it's so desired. The properties are currently vacant. The lots on the end of Darrell Drive currently have a cul-de-sac that the City of Graham can require the developer to remove or leave as the City Council desires, and staff had one recommended condition in line with that. I just want to remind the planning board that very different from the process for rezoning, process for a subdivision is use by right. And therefore, if the applicant meets the standard of the zone, they are entitled to receive approval for the subdivision.
Thank you, Nathan. Mr. Wallace, would you like to speak to us tonight?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Yes. Thank you for hearing our case tonight. Once again, my name is Scott Wallace. I'm president of Keystone Group. We do business as Keystone Homes, and our address is 3708 Alliance Drive in Greensboro, 27407. Thanks for hearing me tonight. I don't really have any prepared remarks. I'm available to answer questions. We've been working really diligently on this property. It's has a lot of opportunity to it. It has some topography opportunities to it as well. And we've worked with Nathan and the other TRC staff to come up with a good plan for this property and to act responsibly with the wetlands and stream that's on the property. And like I said, I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. I'll open it up to board members. Any members like to question Mr. Wallace?
Yeah, I have one. I have not walked this property. You said you have challenges with wetlands and streams. What's the grade? I mean, you got to obviously have to move some dirt, but as far as elevation differences, what's the high and the low? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, there are significant grades here. I don't readily know, but there's probably currently 30 feet or more of fall between the high and the low of the property. We've done some subsurface digging in the area, and there's a little bit of subsurface rock, but we feel we can work through that. So, yeah, it's going to be it's a very challenging topography site, but working through our engineers, we feel we have a really good plan to make it a really good subdivision with some very usable lots. So it's going to be challenging, but we're looking forward to it.
How long do you estimate the prep work taking to get it ready to, how long do you expect the grading to take? Any unforeseen circumstances like rock?
Yeah, grading's I don't know, 6 months plus or minus the time we start to finish. And that's a guess, but we will. I'm not sure if we're going to grade the entire site initially or if we'll do it in phases. Likely we'll do it in phases, and we'll have both accesses off of Darrell and Council when we're complete.
A wild guess on which end you'll start on?
I'm not totally sure. I think we have to get the sewer down there on Council, so that's if we don't start on Council, we'll definitely be down there working to get the sewer.
That's a 50-50 shot. Just go and flip a coin. I'll be happy.
Yeah. So I would say I would guess Council. But like I said, that is a guess, and that is a 50-50 coin. I wasn't trying to I wasn't trying to bypass your question. I just don't really have the answer without having Chuck Truby, the engineer, on here with us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wallace, the stub out that's in question that comes into Rockwood, have y'all worked through that yet and decided what you was going to do with that stub?
With Darrell or Council?
I guess it would be Darrell that goes back over to Darrell Drive.
Yeah, so we will continue. Are you speaking of the cul-de-sac itself? Of whether
No,
we're going to
it actually looks like to me that it's a dead end. It dead ends in the top right of the map that's on the screen, where lot number 1 is. And that dead ends in that to the Rockwood subdivision. Is that correct?
that's in
So that
lot 1 is
there,
that's the Darrell Drive. Yeah, so we'll be connecting to Darrell Drive. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, that's what I was asking.
Yes, sir. We'll be connecting there, and I think Nathan was speaking earlier about there's an existing cul-de-sac there.
Mhm.
So I think I'll let Nathan speak to that cul-de-sac, whether removing it or letting it or keeping it in place and just connecting to that cul-de-sac or taking out that cul-de-sac.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Wallace, for the time being.
Thank you.
Questions from the board to Nathan?
Nathan, if you could tell us how the cul-de-sac works, what the city requires there and how that works.
so this one, although it appears to be a cul-de-sac, isn't a cul-de-sac. It's just a widening in the end of the stub, as Dean referred to, because it was designed in such a way that the stub touched the adjacent property with at least 50 feet, which is the right-of-way requirement width for a residential medium street. If you near in the vicinity of lot 9, there's a couple of stubs that are not in them. The T intersection itself, but the turnaround for the trash truck or the fire truck or that kind of thing If it was 150 feet in length, they would be required to put in another turnaround. So if, for example, they had a few homes to the northwest of this site, they would need to put a SAC in order to allow for the trash truck and fire truck to be able to turn around there. As such, most of the time when these cul-de-sacs are removed, the property owners have the plats allow for the property owners to take that property back and have it be theirs. What I was recommending here, rather than just having them come in and straighten out that curb line to continue Dale Drive through, was to give the option to the property owners with not Mr. Wallace's property, but owners that are there in Wood Estates, to determine whether or not they wanted to leave that there as a parking space or whatever other belief that they had as for an amenity to have a curve flare in the road in properties. Recognizing, however, though, that would mean increased expense for the city of Graham long term to maintain more asphalt costs more, because when you repave it, you got to do more work versus if it was just straight curb and gutter and paving that went in there. So I'm hopeful that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, there's no other questions. I'll entertain a motion.
Then I'll make that motion that we approve the plan as presented in accordance with 2035 comprehensive plan sections. Well, let me get back to them. Um, 3.2.3 and 4.3.1.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Any further discussion about the motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Nathan, do you think I need to poll the board since it was unanimous?
I think as long as you don't have a vote in the negative, it is clear that everyone present in the, was that Bobby that seconded that motion?
I second it.
Tony Bailey.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Okay, Nathan, I'm ready for the next agenda item.
So the next item is the 160D update, and I'll go ahead and stop the share. So the city attorney is still reviewing that document. It was also sent out to you guys, if I remember correctly, a bit more than a month ago for you to begin reviewing it. And I just wanted to provide any opportunity for questions that any members of the board.
Mr. Page, of those materials, is there anything in there that's not the recommendation, not exclusively or strictly the recommendation of the UNC School of Government as proposed changes? Is there anything in there from the city or other parties?
All of these were the recommendations that the School of Government as their interpretation of the 160D. You saw the opening slide. It's the image of the book that was by UNC School of Government forces. I'm not sure if you see that, but for the purposes of updating our regulations.
Thank you.
Well, Nathan, I have a question about section 10. Specifically,
Bobby, you broke up on me there. That was 10 dot what?
339, Bowleg B, Bowleg 1. And that section under the major subdivision, why is the planning board and the city council removed from the major subdivision process?
For the very reason that we just said, as it's a use by right, the planning board and the city council don't have the authority to turn down a subdivision. So the School of Government recommends that subdivisions are approved administratively.
That was strictly on a use by right basis, though. Is that correct?
Correct. It is only if they meet the standards of the underlying zone.
And in the case we just had, it was already zoned R12. And they met all those requirements to put the subdivision in. So there wasn't, this is a pro forma move on our part there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions relating to Mr. Chen's inquiry? Okay. Anybody else have any questions about the 160D? I know there's going to be some, when we dive into it, pretty thorough, but I have seen a few things in there myself, but I just wait till we all have opportunity to read the majority of it before we start going through. Nathan, is your plan to go through chapter by chapter with us or what?
I'm down for doing whatever way you want to do it. Before we take any action on it or make any motions, it has to be publicly noticed, and we won't do that until the attorney has reviewed it.
And this has to be in the play by the end of 2021, is that correct?
July 1st, 2021.
July the 1st, 2021.
That did give 4 different dates, but the most current one is July 1st, 2021. We are able to adopt before that date. If we don't adopt it by that date, it gets really confusing because rules supersede our rules regardless of which rules we have. And if rules reference the wrong statutes, I think a good attorney could argue that they're not binding.
Mr. Chrisman, I know you're very thorough. I know you've probably done read it all a couple of times by now. Do you have any direction? Do you have any direction that you would like to see the board take in reviewing this, and going over it together? Or I'm certainly open for any suggestions.
I would suggest, if you said you've already had some questions on some of the things, and since Mr. Perry brought forth that it was suggested not anything from the city, but all from the School of Government, I would think we would want to address each individual item instead of go through any questions on page 47, any questions on page 48. I think we just go through the parts that jumped out at you that we need to discuss.
Okay. So let's kind of be proactive with Nathan and get ahead of, let's set a preliminary date of next month's meeting that we come with our first line of questionings. So if each member of the board has any questions that they may want to ask about, let's try to have them together for next month's meeting.
Okay. If it's like Mr. Chen's question, if it it's a matter of just a clarification, should we contact Mr. Page or wait till the meeting to do that?
No, I'm certainly open if you want to contact Mr. Page, but it would help some of the other board members if even if you did contact Mr. Page and already get your answer, just discuss it, just to shed some light on something that maybe you've seen from a different angle that we didn't see or did see.
Okay, sounds good.
Chair Ward, I'm not sure that we're able to discuss these items without public notice so that the public can attend and speak on them if they desire to do so. I think you're right that we should have all of these items be done in this forum and I agree with you and would appreciate if there's an email to me ahead of time that says there are going to be these 5 questions, just to give me time to figure out what page they're on, and whatnot. But I do think that you're absolutely right that those should occur as publicly as possible, particularly now with them being posted on YouTube, so that somebody can go back and watch later what's happening and what's gone on.
Okay. So then moving forward for next month, if you have questions, if you would, send them to Nathan. Do not send them to everybody in the board. Just send them directly to Nathan so Nathan can be prepared to discuss them at the open meeting. Is that sufficient, Nathan?
Absolutely. And if something kind the day of, whatever, feel free to ask it in here. It's not meant to truncate anything that's being asked. It's just meant to help me prepare to have answers ready as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
I hope that when we do this review process, we do it live. You're cutting out, and so I'm losing parts of the discussion. And I think it's important that document that we all hear what's being said, because as you're talking, I lost out on comments made about the approval process for the major subdivision and why the planning board or the city council is involved in that. I mean, they were in the original document, but they've been marked as to be deleted.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. I don't know if it's your internet connection or mine. I'm only getting about every other word of your response there. But moving forward, that's what we're going to plan on at the next meeting. We are going to discuss 160D. And Nathan, with this many pages and chapters, and having to have something to an attorney, if any modifications are going to be made, if any, which they probably won't be, but if they are, we need to have a deadline, don't we, before, so you'll have plenty of time to get it to the attorney? Or are you going to do it in pieces as we go?
The current is before the attorney. Anything else that was proposed would be easier for them to review. Say if there were on 2 pages or whatever, they could review just the changes rather than the total document. If I remember correctly, there were more than 100 changes throughout the total document.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions about the 160D, or anybody got any more comments about the 160D?
So next month will be a public hearing, a public meeting on this 160D.
Not unless I hear something back from the attorneys.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a good idea to publicize something that we wouldn't want to put out as a full draft. Currently a working draft that's under legal review.
Okay, so then what are we going to do next week or next month if we go ahead and email our questions to you beforehand, and not to the rest of the board, but just to you? Are we going to just discuss those changes? Does that not become a public meeting then?
I suspect the attorneys would say that talking about specific language, specific words should all in a properly notified meeting, so that anyone wants to listen in on effectively amending the whole development ordinance can do so.
Then when does discussing it as a board become, well, I mean, we're public now, but when do we have to notify the public that this is what we're going to do, other than what we did from today's agenda?
So an amendment to the zoning ordinance, the development ordinance, requires newspaper publication and can require mailed notice depending on whether it's a zoning map amendment or just an amendment to the development ordinance. We did not do that at this time because the draft ready yet for the public to view. It's a work in progress that the attorneys are. Once the attorneys are done reviewing it, it'd be my recommendation the planning board begin the review process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions about the 160D?
Yeah. Chair Ward, the purpose of next month's meeting to discuss this is basically what we're doing now, except with specific page numbers.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's go to item number 4, public comments on non-agenda items. Is there anyone that wants to speak in the audience about non-agenda items? I think I see Miss Allen's hand. Can we bring her on?
Good evening. Patty Allen, 265 West Shannon Drive, Graham. I wanted clarification on the 160D. I have been reviewing the School of Government documents as well via their website and comparing them to current ordinances and trying to wrap my head around it. Of course, I don't have the experience that y'all do, but I desperately see a need to improve and update things. So my 2 questions specifically is because it's a bit confusing. I want to clarify that pending the city attorney's feedback on the School of Government document, you will then notice that there will be a public hearing on that. Is that correct? Okay, please clarify for me then, Nathan, because it all got squirrely.
Chair Ward, do you want me to?
Yes, please.
So pending the attorney's approval of the changes that were recommended by the School of Government to our development ordinance, the public notice will occur, et cetera.
Okay, we said the same thing. I just didn't add the changes to our piece of it. It sounds like y'all intend to do that over a series of public hearings versus addressing all of 160D at one time in a single planning board meeting. Is that correct?
That's what I would like to see happen. There's some 600 pages and I would hate to go through all the 600 in one night. Nathan, does that sound appropriate?
Yes, sir. We can pull stages to go through it. The public notice will be done and y'all can begin your review, and I don't see the city council picking it up. I think they'll continue it until your recommendation is made to them.
Thank you.
So in the notices, will it be noticed what sections will be covered at each individual public hearing in the series?
Nathan.
My recommendation would be to note that the 160D update will be occurring and that it will start at that first time. If you're present, you could see how far we got. I'm not sure how many comments the planning board will have. Many of the items I don't anticipate there being a comment on. For example, there's a place where a reference changes from 160D to, so one changes from GS 160A to GS 160D Article 14. I don't anticipate there being a lot of discussion about items like that, in which case we'd get through large portions of the document at one time.
Okay, and so the public planning board meetings are my only opportunity as a citizen to participate in this process, correct? What other opportunity do I have to participate in this process?
Chair Ward, do you want me to respond to that?
Please.
So once the packet is out, you can, as you said, come and speak to the planning board. There will also be public comment at the city council meeting. And as you're aware, if you're not able to get to that, you can also comment in writing at the city council meeting.
But just to confirm, all of the work is going to happen before the citizens. It's not, there aren't going to be meetings like work meetings, work sessions, et cetera, behind closed doors.
100% of the questions to me, I've recommended here be in this forum so that people can, the residents of the city of Graham can hear what those responses and such are.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. I appreciate y'all listening, helping me understand.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Okay, I don't see anyone else with any more comments. Now, anyone from the board have any comments on non-agenda items? Well, it looks like this month has been a short meeting. So if I don't hear any other discussions that need to take place, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Sounds like everybody wants to stay because there's no motion.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
And I'll second it. All in favor, aye.